we were discussed about oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve. Yesterday, we were discussed about oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve, and it may be oxyhemoglobin dissociation curve. And yesterday, we also discussed at PO2 100, 97% of oxygen, 97% of hemoglobin saturated. At 40 mmHg oxygen, 75% of hemoglobin saturated. Yesterday we were discussed. If we will take that at PO2 containing 100 mmHg, 100 mmHg, 97% of hemoglobin satisfy, 97% of hemoglobin satisfy, and at PO2 40 mmHg, 40 mmHg, 75% of hemoglobin satisfy, 75% of hemoglobin satisfy. It must be in resting position. Resting position. Yesterday we were discussed about the resting position. If a person simply sit, that is called as a resting position. At resting position, 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 hemoglobin release, hemoglobin release, hemoglobin release only 22% of oxygen, 22% of O2. When we are in the resting position, the hemoglobin release 22% of O2. At resting position, hemoglobin contain, at resting position, at resting position, at resting position, hemoglobin contain, HB contain 75% of O2. Hemoglobin contain 75% of O2. If we will take that in the resting position, the body tissues or the body cells utilize only less amount of oxygen. That is 22% of oxygen only utilize. But when the person will do more work, when the person will do hard work, or when the person will do more work, to do the work, the skeletal muscle require more oxygen. That's why the skeletal muscle take more oxygen. But at the resting time, at resting time, at resting time, at resting time, at resting time, muscles utilize, muscles utilize, muscles utilize. At resting time, muscles utilize only 1/5 of the 1/5 of the O2, 1/5 of the O2, 1/5 of the O2. At resting time, hemoglobin contain, at resting time, hemoglobin contain, hemoglobin contain, hemoglobin contain 4/5 of O2, 4/5 of O2. But when the person doing more work, what is more work? When person run, when person do any other hard work, at that time the skeletal muscle require more oxygen. At that time the hemoglobin release, at that time the hemoglobin release more oxygen. When the hemoglobin release more oxygen, it must be utilize more oxygen, and it will get more energy, and the muscles are going to do their works perfectly properly. And this is about utilization of oxygen by the tissues. That's why you can take the person. If the person goes to die, even though in that person the respiration occurs, the muscles, the hemoglobin containing the respiration occurs, in the person, in the dead person, for 4 to 5 minutes also. If the heart is going to stop, even though the body supply the oxygen for 4 to 5 minutes. Why? Because the hemoglobin containing 4/5 of oxygen in the hemoglobin. That's why the hemoglobin supply the oxygen. If the person goes to die, even though the hemoglobin supply the oxygen to the cells for 4 to 5 minutes. This is about what, Nana? Utilization of oxygen by the tissues. Here one thing you have to remember, Nana, if the person is in resting position, the person utilize only 22% of oxygen. 1/5 of the oxygen only released by the hemoglobin, and the cells are going to utilize 1/5 of the oxygen at the resting position. But if the person will do more work, if the person will do hard work, at that time the skeletal muscle require more oxygen. When the person doing more work, at that time the hemoglobin release more oxygen into the tissues, more oxygen into the cells. Then the tissues and cells utilize the oxygen and get the energy, and they are going to do their works perfectly and properly. Due to this reason, if the person goes to die, even though the respiration occurs in the person for 4 to 5 minutes, why? Because the hemoglobin containing more oxygen. That's why the respiration is going to occur after death of the person. This is about which in transportation of oxygen. And now we are going to discuss about transportation of carbon dioxide. Transportation of carbon dioxide. This topic also most important for NEET purpose. From this area also the questions will come. That's why listen carefully and remember perfectly properly. And it is also dry topic, Nana. Easily we are going to, which Nana, easily we are going to forgot. That's why listen to me. Transportation of carbon dioxide. Transportation of CO2, carbon dioxide. Transportation of CO2, carbon dioxide. The carbon dioxide transport through CO2 transport through CO2 transport through three ways. It must be transport through three ways. They are CO2 transport through dissolved state, CO2 transport through dissolved state, and CO2 transport through carbamino compound state. Carbamino compound state, and CO2 transport through bicarbonate state. Bicarbonate state. Bicarbonate state. The transportation of CO2 occurs in our body through three ways. Three ways are there to transport the carbon dioxide in our body. First way, CO2 transport through dissolved state. It must be 3% of CO2 transport through the dissolved state. 3% of CO2 transport through the dissolved state. 7, not 3, Nana. 7% of the 7% of the CO2 transport through dissolved state. 7%. Next, CO2 transport through carbamino compound state. CO2 transport through carbamino compound state. Actually, it must be 23% of CO2 transport through this method. But in our textbook, it is 20 to 25%. 20 to 25% is present in our textbook. In academic book, it is 20 to 25% is present. But you can remember this 23% of carbon dioxide transport through this carbamino compound method. And here you can take bicarbonate state. 70% of CO2 transport through this method. 70% of CO2 transport through this method. These are the three ways. Through these three ways, the carbon dioxide must transport in our body. In this, we have to discuss about dissolved state. Dissolved state. Dissolved state. Just now we were discussed only 3%, only 7% of CO2 transport through this method. Just now we were discussed. In the dissolved state, CO2 combines with water, or CO2 combines with plasma. In this method, CO2 combines with plasma water. CO2 combines with plasma water, and it must be transported. How it is combining? Here you can take CO2 combines with the H2O, develops into H2CO3. H2CO3. It's a carbonic acid. H2CO3. It's a carbonic acid. Carbonic acid. H2CO3. Carbonic acid. Through this method, it must be transported. The CO2, carbon dioxide must be transported in our body. Here you can remember, Nana, dissolved state, only 7% of carbon dioxide transporting through this method. In this, the CO2 combines with plasma. CO2 combines with plasma water. Here you can take CO2 plus H2O, develops into H2CO3, carbonic acid. Through this method, it must be transported in our body. Next, carbamino compound state. Carbamino compound state. Here you can take carbamino compound state. Carbamino compound state, or through carbamino compound state. Just now we were discussed. Actually, 23% of carbon dioxide transport through this method. 23% of CO2 transport through this method. 23% of CO2 transport through this method, and it may be average in between 20 to 25%. 20 to 25%. In this method, CO2 combines with hemoglobin or amino compound or amino group, that is called as HbNH2. HbNH2. It must combines with CO2, develops into HbNH COO minus plus H plus. This is called as carbamino compound. carbamino compound. Carbamino compound. Here one more thing also we have to know, Nana. HbNHCOO minus. This is called as the carbamino compound. Carbamino compound. In carbamino compound state, 23% of carbon dioxide transport through this method. It must be in average 20 to 25%. In our textbook, 20 to 25% is present. But here you can take, actually it is 23. You have to remember that. When the CO2 combines with the amino group HbNH2, when the CO2 combines with the amino group HbNH2, it must develops into carbamino compound group HbNHCOO minus. You may get the doubt, sir. Yesterday we were discussed hemoglobin transporting oxygen. Here the hemoglobin also transport the carbon dioxide. Yes, hemoglobin is a amphoteric substance. Hemoglobin is a amphoteric substance. Hemoglobin, Hb, nothing but hemoglobin. It's a amphoteric substance. Amphoteric substance. Amphoteric substance. Most important, this it's not present in our book. That's why listen carefully. It's a amphoteric substance. What is meant by amphoteric substance? If PO2 is more, if PO2 is more, hemoglobin combines with HB combines with PO2, means the PO2 means HB combines with PO2 and to develop oxyhemoglobin. When the hemoglobin combines with oxygen, oxyhemoglobin developing. If PCO2 is more, if PCO2 is more, if PCO2 is more, the hemoglobin combines with HB combines with PCO2. When hemoglobin combines with PCO2, which is developing? Carbamino compound developing. Which is developing, Nana? Carbamino compound developing. When this carbamino compound reach the alveoli, reach the lungs. When carbamino compound reach the lungs, near the lungs, more oxygen is present near the lungs. That's why the carbamino compound into this CO2 will comes outside. Here we have to discuss that. Listen to me and listen carefully. Transportation of carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide transport through carbamino compound state. Actually, through carbamino compound state, only 23% of carbon dioxide transport through this method. Through carbamino compound state, only 23% of carbon dioxide transport through this method. But an average 20 to 25. How it is transporting? Carbon dioxide combines with amino group and carbon dioxide combines with hemoglobin. Carbon dioxide combines with hemoglobin or amino group. Hemoglobin. Carbon dioxide combines with hemoglobin. When the carbon dioxide combining with hemoglobin, HbNH2 plus CO2, carbamino compound developing. Carbamino compound developing. It is occurring in tissues. It is occurring in the tissues. When it reach the lungs, it is occurring in the tissues. When it reach the lungs, and it must be break into HbNH2 plus CO2. The CO2 will comes outside through the lungs. And you may be get that out. Just now we were discussed, sir, hemoglobin. Yesterday we discussed hemoglobin combines with oxygen. Yes, hemoglobin combines with oxygen and oxyhemoglobin developing. And at the same time, hemoglobin also combines with carbon dioxide. When the hemoglobin combines with carbon dioxide, carbamino compound developing. It will combines with the hemoglobin combines with both oxygen and carbon dioxide. Hemoglobin combines with both oxygen and carbon dioxide. That's why it is called as amphoteric substance. Hemoglobin is amphoteric substance. What is meant by amphoteric substance? If oxygen is more, it combines with oxygen. Hemoglobin combines with oxygen. If carbon dioxide is more, the hemoglobin combines with carbon dioxide. It must combines with the two substances, two gases. That's why it is called as amphoteric substance. Amphoteric substance. This is about carbamino compound state. Through the carbamino compound state, 23% of hemoglobin is transporting in our body. This is about carbamino compound state. Children's followed. Anybody want to once again, Nana? Children's? Children's?
Followed, sir.
Good. Board is clear, Nana?
Yes, sir. Sir, you can ask some questions, sir.
Okay, ask me, Nana.
No, sir, some neat bits on this
Okay,
topic,
I will
sir.
develop on this topic. I will develop. Nana, now we have to discuss about bicarbonate state. In that, we have to develop some of the questions. I will give some of the bits to you. Okay, followed up this topic. Anybody want to once again?
No, sir.
Here also I would like to. Okay, here also I would like to give one or two bits for neat purpose. Listen to me. Carbamino compound. Carbamino compound develops near first one lungs, second one alveoli, third one tissues, fourth one none.
Tissues, sir.
Good, very good.
Tissues,
good.
sir.
Fourth, good, very good, excellent. Tissues is the answer. Okay. Carbamino compound split and develops into CO2 and HbNH2. Carbamino compound split and develops into HbNH2 at lungs, alveoli, tissues, and none. What is your answer, Nana?
Lungs.
Good, lungs, but give a specific word.
Alveoli.
Good, very good. Good, very good, excellent. Alveoli. Why? Because near alveoli, the carbamino compound split, the CO2 enters into alveoli. From alveoli, it will comes outside through exhale or expiration. If no alveoli, if only lungs are present here, if it is containing first one lungs, second one plasma, third one tissues, and fourth one none. At that time we have to choose lungs. But in lungs, in specific area of alveoli, the carbamino compound must be split. That's why if lungs and alveoli are present, we have to choose alveoli. If only lungs are present, we have to choose lungs. Followed, Anna? Children's.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Now it is going to close within 2 minutes, Nana. You can rejoin immediately. Okay, Nana?
Okay.
Right. Now we have to discuss about bicarbonate state. Here you have to listen perfectly properly. Most of the persons are going to get confused in this area. Not only in this area, most of the persons also confused in carbamino compound state also. But already we were discussed carbamino compound state. We discussed 1 or 2 bits on carbamino compound state also. Now we have to discuss about bicarbonate state. Bicarbonate state. Bicarbonate state. Bicarbonate state. Bicarbonate state. It will take more time, Nana. I am closing and you can rejoin immediately. Close. ఇది మళ్ళీ మనం